Hey, what's up, everybody? Michael here once again with AJ. We are back to review another movie we just got done watching, having some drinks, having some fun. This was my week to pick the movie, and I picked one of the movies that I haven't seen in a while, but it's been one of my all-time favorites always. It is 1408. It is written by Stephen King. It's starring John Cusack, Samuel Adams. I'm gonna leave that in there. Fuck it. Samuel L. Jackson. So it's got Samuel L. Jackson in it, a bunch of other people. Um, so, anything you want to add about the movie with trivia, facts, all that before we get into our deep dive of all our notes here?
Yeah, I've got four little trivia facts here. There's a lot more, but a lot of it was long and tedious. So I just went with the short stuff.
Good way to do it.
So in the standard edition, the DVD runtime is exactly 104 minutes and 8 seconds, which is referring directly to the movie's title, which the DVD stops playing at precisely 1 minute or 1 hour, 44 minutes and 8 seconds.
That's some interesting stuff.
Then, in San Antonio, Texas, due to alleged paranormal activity, the Emily Morgan Hotel sealed one of the rooms. Can you guess which one?
1,408.
Yes.
How the fuck did I guess that?
Then the hat that Mike Enslin is wearing in the movie, which says paranoia is perfect awareness, is actually a play on one of Stephen King's favorite quotes, which is perfect paranoia is perfect awareness.
Solid.
And the original actor who was attached for playing the lead role, can you guess who that was?
Adam Sandler.
That would have been great, but no. Keanu Reeves.
I love him, but I don't think he would have been good for this movie.
Oh, come on, that would have been great.
Thinking about that, it does not feel like it would have been very good. You know what I mean? Like
It wouldn't have been good, but it would have been hilarious.
It would have been hilarious for sure. But John Ball, he fucking knocks it out of the park every time. Oh god. You got anything else before I get deranged and drop the mic like it's hot?
It was filmed in New York, which I believe the hotel that this was actually loosely based on is actually at.
Nice. Okay. Well, obviously, if you've not seen 1408, so obviously there's going to be spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie yet, go watch it. Seriously, go watch it. Come back and watch this. I cannot recommend this movie enough. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, I guess we'll get
Which
more.
isn't saying much because he hasn't seen that many.
You be quiet over there in your fucking peanut gallery. This movie is a national treasure. So, it starts with John Cuenthal and Samuel Adams. And, so John Cusack is amazing in this movie. It starts out, he's a man who's a skeptic and doesn't really believe in paranormal. He's making easy money. He stays at haunted places, haunted hotels, and then he writes books about it. That sounds like a good life to me, dude. If you don't believe in any of that spooky stuff and you go to those like super touristy places that possibly aren't even haunted, you just get to stay there, sleep it off, write your book, get a lot of money. Sounds good to me.
And get paid to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd do it.
So, we got Johnny Appleseed. He goes to the first hotel, and it's a couple who are like super sales pitchy about it. He gets there. He's like, I'm tired. It's been a long drive. Can I get the key? And they're like, no, wait. And they're like, well, here's what happened in this room and that room and la la la. And he's like, okay, it's been a long drive. Can I get the keys? And they're like, oh, but this and that, this and that, this and that, this and that. Finally, he's like, yeah, the key to the room. Let's fucking go. And so they give him the key. He goes in the room. This room looks like it's made for hobbits. It's got tiny ass doors, a tiny fireplace. Yeah, anything else you want to add about that?
Yeah, his bed looks like it's made for a 2-year-old.
He said when he woke up from his night of sleep, he's like, the owner says she hasn't gotten a good night's sleep ever since she bought the place. No wonder, because he couldn't fucking sleep because of how bad the bed was and shit and how bad the room was. So, we move along in the movie, and we end up in a library, and he goes up to the guy at the library, and he's like, "Hey, I'm here for the special event." And the guy's like, "Okay, good for you." And he's like, "I'm Mike Inslin. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Islin." And the guy's like, "Okay." And he's like, "I'm the guy who wrote the books, and I'm here for the book signing." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, right." And then he gets on the PA system for a super awkward "Tonight is paranormal spooky hooky," one of those kind of fucking cheesy announcements. So it skips to being at the table with his books on it, and he's talking to his fans, answering their questions and stuff. And he did not give a shit about the fans or any of it. Anything you want to add? I don't want to.
Yeah, he for the job he has, he doesn't seem like he likes it that much. And yeah, he's just a dickhead to everyone.
Right. One of my favorite parts is the chick comes up with a book of his. It's like his first book or whatever, a really old one. And he's like, "Where'd you find this? What rock did you find this under?" Some cheesy line like that. And she's like, "It was on eBay." And she's like, "I just want to say you're an amazing writer and you're such an inspiration and you're like the best thing ever and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh, thanks," I guess, basically. He's just like, "What the fuck ever." And then she keeps trying to talk about how great he is. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, what's the name? Where do you want it signed?" So he just does not give a shit. But he's making his money, so kudos to him. So that ends with that. He ends up going to a beautiful looking beach and goes surfing. Well, it's bodyboarding, I guess, because he was just laying on it and swimming out into the ocean. And he almost dies because an airplane with a banner saying "cheap auto" something distracts him. And he's looking up at the sky, not paying attention, and a big wave hits him. And that brings an interesting point that I want to bring up for the end of the movie. It was a theory I had, which after you told me what you told me, doesn't seem like it could be true, but it could still be. I don't know. It's a weird deal. But I was wondering if he actually died at the beach there, and everything that happened afterwards was, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, he almost dies from the plane banner and shit. And he wakes up on the beach and he's coughing, spitting up water, which is great acting. I mean, it looked like he really was spitting up choked water. It was great. Some dude walks up and he's like, "You all right?" Blah, blah, blah. And then, anything else you got to add about that scene?
Not that scene, no, but I will say that with comparison to the book, or the short story rather, I would say that they got his details pretty good.
Definitely.
To the cigarette behind his ear and the Hawaiian shirts that he always wears.
For sure. I actually was just about to bring that up. And the next scene, he goes to the post office and he's wearing some styling clothes. I wish I could look that good. But I listened to the audiobook, the short story, and I got like 70% done with it, so I didn't get to finish it.
I finished it.
Well, he's a saint and he's a gentleman and a scholar and all that shit. So he goes to the post office, gets his mail. He goes to a restaurant to eat, read his mail. He's got some kind of cringy birthday card, what looks like a bill he just tossed to the side, and then a postcard from the hotel that is going to be where this movie takes place, mostly the Dolphin Hotel. Excuse me. He looks at the postcard and it says, "Don't go in 1408." And so obviously it just piques his interest. It was literally only sent to him to entice him. But he gets there. He calls about getting a room for 1408, getting a night, and they're like, "Nope, not available." He's like, "What about tomorrow?" "Nope." "Next Tuesday?" "Nope." "Next year?" "Nope," and hangs up on him.
Which I want to say how rude the front desk person is to him.
Fair. Yeah, I worked front desk at a hotel, and people are horrible.
Did?
Yeah, how'd you know? But people are horrible, and but if someone called me about a room availability, even if it was a supposed hush-hush room, I wouldn't just be like, "Not available," and hang up on them. So, yeah, he goes to the post office. Oh, yeah, when he goes to the post office to grab his fucking mail, the dude behind the counter is like, "Bro, I love your fucking latest book, spooky stuff." And he's just like, he puts a thumbs up, and he's like, "Cool." This guy does not give a shit about anything or anyone, which I guess it kind of makes sense after what happens, that we find out what happens later. Poor boy's traumatized. So, he calls his book publisher, and the book publisher gets a lawyer, basically, and the lawyer finds a loophole and a legal standing that's like, if the room is unoccupied, they have to give it to you, which I don't know if that's an actual law or not. I mean, I feel like a real law would be like if it's in usable condition and the hotel could have just been like it's unusable, whatever.
Which,
So
yeah, the routes that these people are willing to go just to stay in a supposedly haunted room, threatening to sue and everything's ridiculous.
it was pretty crazy. I mean, they were like the Johnny Cochran dream team. Like they went in there and they're like, "Hey, this is him. This is you on the phone. Boom. He's got the loophole. He's got the deal. Great job. Get the fuck out of my office." Like they was just boom on site. So he ends up going to the hotel, goes to check in at the front desk, and he says his name, and the lady's like, "Can you wait one moment, sir?" Anytime anyone says that, it's gonna be trouble. So she goes to the other guy, I guess it's her manager, and she's like, "Hey, Mike Insland's here to check in." And he's like, "I'll take care of it." And does he end up getting to him before Samuel L. Jackson, or I can't remember if Samuel L. Jackson comes up first and foremost, or if the guy calls
I
him
think
over
he
or
goes
whatever.
and gets Samuel L. Jackson.
Okay, so Samuel L. Jackson comes up and is like, "Hey, you know, you don't want to stay in this room, yada yada. Can we talk more in my office?" And there's a creepy old school baby carriage with a baby in it and a lady that's standing in the lobby. You said that got explained in the movie. You thought, did it? This second time I watched through here.
I thought I remembered it getting explained like she wasn't real, like she's a ghost.
I don't remember us just watching that, but I might have missed it. I was kind of
Because it's like a old school carriage that she has for like an 1800s, 1700s kind of carriage.
Definitely. So, and he also notes on the postcard that 1408, 1 plus 4 plus 0 plus 8 is 13, which is an unlucky number, symbol of fear. And they said they pretend the 13th floor doesn't exist on the hotel.
Yeah, that's actually a real thing, especially, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's in Japan or
I think so.
somewhere in Asia where they never have like a 13th floor or 13th step and
I was going to say, so it went straight from 12 to 14. They didn't just call the 13th floor the 14th. Okay. So, yeah, 13 is an unlucky number, symbol of fear. And, yeah, so this room added up to 13. And there's a couple other things that add up to 13 in this. And there's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of foreshadowing towards the end. And we'll get to that, obviously. But he takes him into his office. Samuel L. Jackson's suit's pretty styling. I like it. Nice tie and all that. He offers him a drink of $800 bottle of, looks like cognac, I think it was. And he's like, "Listen, you cannot use this room. We want to upgrade you to a different room. Don't go in the room. Don't do it. So many people have died and committed suicide." And it's like he wants him to not so bad, but they sent him a postcard knowing it would entice him to come. Like,
I think the room we're supposed to get the room is what sent the postcard.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, the room itself.
The way it ended with, not spoiling it, but like at the end with Samuel L. Jackson, I thought he might have done it and was part of it, but we'll get to that. So, and then Mike Insland has daddy issues. Talks about it a little bit at the book signing with his lady's like, the father and son relationship in the book was so real seeming. Does it have anything to do with you and your dad? And he's like, no. So, more of his daddy issues and shit keep happening. But, basically Samuel L. Jackson's like, you can't go, please. And Mike is how do I put this delicately? He's a know-it-all. There we go. He's like, "Oh, I did the study on the rooms. I know some guys committed suicide, this, that. So Samuel L. Jackson's like, "Yeah, but you didn't hear about the 22 natural deaths. A lot of people had heart attacks in the rooms, strokes. All in all, 56 people had died in that room since I have the year that they said it opened, but I don't see it in my notes. It might be a little later ahead. But they said it's a 95-year-old hotel, 56 deaths in that one room. And eventually Mike says, "I'm going no matter what, whatever." And he's like, "All right, cool, bet." So he gives them the key, which is an old school key, one of those old iron-looking ones, because all the doors have magnetic locks except for that, because electronics don't work in 1408.
Yeah, and if you read the short story, you know nothing. Digital clocks, digital watches, nothing works in that room.
Exactly.
And sometimes they run backwards.
So let me ask you this, since I haven't finished the short story. Does what happens later with the Skype call happen in the book?
I don't remember.
Okay. So one really good touch that I like is...
I don't think Skype was a thing when that came out.
Or whatever it was, video chatting. I don't know what kind of video chatting was around before Skype and FaceTime and all that. Like, I don't know. I never used it as a kid. I barely got on the internet as a kid. But one touch I really liked as he was walking to his room, he passed, like, the rooms right before 1408 was coming up, and there was one more set of elevators, and the elevator opened, like, one last time, giving him a chance, like, get out now, it's your last chance now or never. He looked at it for a bit while he's looking at all the death photos and stuff, because Samuel L. Jackson had a file of all the deaths and stuff, and ever since he started there, I think he said 4 deaths have happened since he started there, and he's got all the files on it. So as he was looking at the pictures and stuff, the elevator door opened, like giving him a last chance, and then he looked at it, and as soon as he looked away and started walking away, the hotel elevator door closed, like, like, okay, you had your chance. So he gets to the room, sees the lady who had the creepy old baby carriage going into the room right next to 1408, and yeah, anything else you gotta...
Yeah, I will say that I love the, like, decor and stuff of this place. It's kind of like a Victorian area kind of looking.
Right,
but
definitely.
It does nothing for John Cusack's complexion, because he looks like he has jaundice throughout the whole movie.
Well, that and Samuel L. Jackson did too, especially in the office scene, especially with his, like, yellow golden tie he had. It looked like his eyes were just completely golden and yellow. And so, but anyway, I liked the decor aside from lighting issues and all that. But anyway, so he gets in the room, has a tense little moment of looking around, some suspenseful music and shit. And in the book, it has like this whole scene beforehand where the door is just a little bit crooked, and it's making him dizzy and sick to look at. Then he looks at another door to see if it's crooked like that one, looks back, and the door's back to normal. But, so he goes in the room, has that little tense moment, and then he's like, this is it? This is what I'm supposed to be scared of? Haha, what a fucking joke. And it's like, just because it looks clean, looks nice and all that, he thinks everything's fine. Like, that's pretty dumb on his part, but whatever. So, pretty much the second he gets in there, he turns the porn on, right? Like, well, at least turns the porn channel
he looks
viewing.
He channel surfs, and there's a whole 3 options for adult programming.
So he looks and contemplates the porn for a minute. Then he runs and grabs the Bible. The Bible that's always in the hotel drawers and stuff. So he opens it, and the page he opens it to, he turns to Samuel 2, chapter 11, I think it was. So it's another nod to 13. 11 and 2 makes 13. And that's something I never would have noticed unless we had paused it, because we were trying to see every detail about it and, looked into it. But I think it's after he throws, he looks at it for like 2 seconds, throws the Bible down. And after
just long enough for us to see what he was looking at.
Right. Isn't it pretty much right after that, or after he looks around for a bit more, that the song plays first?
Yeah.
So we've only just begun. I think it's by the Carpenters. Love that song. That starts playing on the radio out of nowhere, his radio alarm clock. And of course he's like, oh, nice touch. Because he's a skeptic about everything. When the dude, I can't remember Samuel L. Jackson's character's name, when the dude tells him all this stuff, he's like, oh, fucking, trying to sell me these scary boogeyman bullshit stories. So he thinks that Samuel L. Jackson's character made the radio do that. And he's like, oh, nice touch. Bravo, bravo. It does really good giving you a little bit of a jar, like it comes on, just boom. And so he goes and turns it off. And lost my spot in my notes here. Let's see. All right, so he starts looking out the window, and there was chocolates on his pillows and stuff, and he ate one of the chocolates, right, at the beginning. Yeah. So he ate one. When he gets back in from looking out the window, he looks, and his chocolates are back on the pillows exactly where they were. The bathroom's all replaced like it was. Oh, totally forgot. Samuel L. Jackson gave him the bottle of $800 liquor, so he's got that in the room with him.
And he thinks, of course, that or the chocolate is drugged to make him hallucinate.
Once stuff starts going a little funky, he blames everything but paranormal. But, so this fucking guy in denial, he's like, someone had to have snuck in here when I had my head out the window and put the chocolates on so carefully and quietly, and he's looking around the room like someone's in here, thinking it's all just like a punked episode. So, let's see here. Anything else you want to add to that before we move on?
No.
So starts getting to the point where his room's scalding hot, and he's saying he's practically burning up. His thermostat's on the fritz. It's like a really old school one.
He said it feels like his room is on fire.
That's the one it was. So calls maintenance, and the lady on the phone, who's the lady for all the other calls in the movie, right? Like, it's okay. So this quote unquote lady says she'll send maintenance right up, and maintenance comes up. It's this dude that looks like he just fucking does not like working there. So the dude's standing at the door, and he's like, great, come in, the thermostat's right over here. So he's like, I know where the hell it is. I'm not going in there. You know what happened in there. And John Cusack's like, I know, whatever. And the guy's like, you can fix it yourself. Go ahead. One of the funniest things in the world to me is he's like, I'll walk you through it. He has him take off the panel, and he's like, there's a little mercury thing in there, a thing containing mercury to control the levels and all that, yada, yada. He's like, just give it a tap. And like 0.2 seconds after he says give it a tap, he's like, just tap the damn thing. He doesn't even give him a chance to do it. That's one of my favorite parts of the fucking movie. He's like, this is how you do it. Fucking do it. So he taps it, and he's like, oh, there it is. You're a gentleman in a scarlet. Let me give you a tip. And he turns around, and the guy's already gone. Runs out the door, and he's like, hey, the guy's already walking down the other side of the hallway. He's out of sight. He's gone. So Johnny Boy, he goes in. He's like, okay, whatever. Let's see what else here. Oh, the painting started to seem to come to life a little bit right before the maintenance man knocked.
Yeah.
Started having sounds he was hearing, kind of like the ocean from the painting. So anyway, maintenance man gets done doing his stuff. Then it shows the clock, and the alarm clock in the room says 8:07. And as soon as it pans to the clock and shows that it starts playing, we've only just begun again. A little distorted this time. Then it changes from the regular time to a countdown timer from 60 minutes. And Samuel L. Jackson, when they were in the office, said no one lasts in this room longer than an hour. Should have mentioned that. Forgot to. So 60 minutes starts counting down. And that's your you done fucked up moment. Me personally, the first time the radio started playing that by itself and the chocolate reappeared on the pillow, I'm gone. That's it. When he opened the door for the maintenance man, it was a little hard, but he got it opened.
I don't know, man. A constant supply of chocolate.
You go have fun with that. Yeah, you can listen to the Carpenters all day long and fucking smash your hand in the window every.
Oh, I'd love to.
Well, good. So I'll leave and I'll miss you. But yeah, I would have left at that point. I would have been like, hey, listen, that's the only paranormal proof I need right there. We've only just begun. Is done. I'm out. Let's go. So, like I said, it starts counting down from 60. He runs to the window again, and I think it's at that point he sticks his head out and he can't hear anything, or is it a little later?
Is that the point where he go? No, it's not.
I was gonna say he sticks his head out the window, and then the window falls on his hand and crushes it. I just don't remember if he sticks his head out the window and it's the part where he doesn't hear anything.
Let's talk about how much of a jerk this room is. First, it slams down on his hand, and he goes into the bathroom to clean his hand, and then the dickhead room decides to spray hot water all over his hand.
I mean, to be fair, he was making fun of the room, saying it wasn't shit, so it says, la la la, get this, but you get this. So don't shake your head at me, Borat's a fucking national treasure. So,
never seen it.
He's lying. He's watched it. He's watched the second one. He's watched the third one that doesn't even exist. So, yeah, he gets to the bathroom and it starts spraying scalding hot water at full blast and burns his hand. And they do a great job making stuff look painful and the gore look pretty real. So,
yeah, that's one thing they make look good other than something that's coming up here pretty soon.
You're a fucking buffoon. So he rips the alarm clock out of the wall, panicking and shit, and it's still counting down, so it's obviously powered by its own devices. Then the phone starts ringing. He picks it up, the one by his bed. That's not the one ringing. It's the one right outside of his room, and it's the same lady who's on all the calls. And she says, your sandwich is ready, but we don't have fries. You'll have to pick something else. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I didn't order a sandwich. My hand hurts. I need help. And she's like, saying other disconnected stuff. And he's like, I'm going to fucking sue you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you're not going to take that tone with me. So he's starting to panic now. He's like, I'm hurt. You win. I want to check out. But he missed his chance. He had plenty of times. And it was at this point in the movie that we talked about it. And this is a huge spoiler. So if for some reason you're listening to this and haven't seen this movie and you haven't read the Dark Tower stuff, What'd you
Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna
I was
say.
wetting my whistle.
Oh, good. So the Dark Tower series from Stephen King, every single one of Stephen King's books are tied to the Dark Tower in one way or the other, whether it exists in the same universe or is powered by the Dark Tower. I actually looked it up a little bit, and one of the theories is that the room could be like one of those thinnings in the veil type things, and that's why weirdness is seeping through. It's just like one pinpoint spot. I didn't have a chance to look up too much lore about it because we're obviously right mid-movie, but I think it's fascinating as shit. Because I told AJ, I was like, I want to know more about the movie. That's the only thing I don't like about it is I want to know more. Is this an alternate dimension? Is this him going crazy? Is this him having to atone for his sins and get over his past? And he was like, no, she's connected to the Dark Tower. And I was like, oh, that blew my mind. So that was a cool little point that I wanted to add. But let's see here. So did you have something you wanted to add?
No, but I do want to get to this CGI problem that this movie has.
It doesn't have a problem, and we're coming up to it. So he tries to escape the room at this point now, and he tries picklocking the door with a knife. It breaks. The door handle breaks off. He looks through the peephole, and there's an eye looking back at him. I want to know whose eye that was. I don't think that's ever explained. I don't know if we could end up deep diving and rewatch the movie and look at
it. It looked like a
everyone's...
woman's eye. Maybe it's supposed to be his wife/girlfriend, whatever she is.
Or it could be the daughter. It could be the lady who was in the room across. I don't know. But I'm sure we could rewatch the movie and like look at everyone's eyes or something and see who had that same eye color. But so now he knows he messed up, and so then the ghost of the room who have killed themselves formerly and been killed. They start appearing, and one of them swings a lamp at him, tries to hurt him. This is where AJ's imaginary problems come in. Go ahead.
It's totally not imaginary.
Go ahead and enlighten us.
So this one female ghost, for some reason, I don't know why, but she is super staticky like a TV that's out of whack.
All are, but I mean...
Okay, so the whole thing's a problem.
You're the problem. I think it's supposed to mean like a distortion in time. They're stuck in time, yada yada. But go ahead.
It would be all right, but she doesn't blend in well with the background. And the main thing that irks me is when she jumps off the building. Right before she hits the ground, she disappears, and you get the sound of a TV turning off.
Well, everything that gets... I mean, he threw a lamp out at some point, and that turned to static right before and like glitched out. So I feel like that was more like a glitching out of reality thing, and they're
so
like...
this is basically a Matrix sequel.
Why not make it Grown Ups 3? Why you gotta bother me
I would
for?
prefer to watch that.
You make me sick.
I'm just kidding.
So-
I actually do like this movie.
So, yeah, he's got a problem with CGI. I thought it was fine. This movie came out in 2007, I think. And, shit, I thought it was fine. I mean, I still watch Spider-Man 1 from Sam Raimi and look
That's
at...
the great Sam Raimi who gave us Drag Us to Hell, which we will get to at some point.
Don't you even mention Drag Me to Hell, that fucking disgrace of a movie. But Spider-Man 1, when I was a kid, I didn't notice it. But when I was an adult and rewatched it, the CGI is horrible in that. But it doesn't bother me.
Spider-Man, though.
Yeah, but this is 1408. That's like...
Exactly.
That's like Spider-Man's 1, and this is 1408. And that makes 13.
So you like this better than Spider-Man?
No. Well, that's a tough one. No, but it's up there. It's up there in that good rank of movies. It's one that I could watch anytime. Rewatch it always. Perfect rewatch value.
By the way, he likes this better than The Shining, so go after him.
Yeah, this, in my opinion, is a little better than The Shining. It's a little better than... What else were you quoting at me and you were surprised I liked it more than?
See, there was The Shining. There's another Stephen King one that's quite a bit better than this.
It, that's right.
It, yes.
No, it is not
God.
better than...
It is so much better than this.
It is not better than this. Okay. This is more of a horror suspense movie. It's not really a scary movie, per se. I mean, there's a part where his dad, from his daddy issues, his dad's in the bathroom in a wheelchair, and he says some cryptic fucking line, whatever he says. That part kind of unsettled me a little bit when I was a younger kid and watched this, but there's nothing really scary about this. So this is like my favorite suspense horror movie ever. Just throwing that out there right now.
Somebody have this man institutionalized.
Come try. So let's see. Where did I leave off on my notes? All right. So he starts to hear a little girl's voice, which we at this point in the movie don't know who it is. He thinks he's going crazy. Then he looks up an event and thinks he sees a spy camera. So he's like, "You're watching this for your amusement, huh? You sick fuck." Blah blah blah. Then he starts thinking he's poisoned by the booze or the candy. And just when he starts to spiral out of control, and he's like, "That's it, I've been poisoned. They're doing this to me." Family video of his wife and daughter pops on the TV, and he starts, watching it and crying and inferring that the daughter has had something unpleasant happen. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. So at 46 minutes remaining on the clock, 14 minutes after the 60-minute countdown started, the daughter is hinted to being dead. Baby starts crying in the other room, and I think that might be where you thought it was hinted that the baby and mom wasn't real, because the baby was crying, and then when he started banging on the wall, the crying turned into like echoing in his head, and he was on the floor.
I'm almost 100% sure that they weren't real.
Okay, I want to look it up and see like the lore behind it, and like if there's any answers that were given that were definitive. Like I don't know if Stephen King is like some authors where he like, hey, this is a fan's question, this is what was meant by it, or
So
if
I
he's
don't remember if they were actually in the books in the short story or not.
really okay. That would just be weird if he saw them right away when nothing happens except in the room paranormal. You know what I mean? Seems like nothing happens except when you walk through those doors. So
Well, maybe the room is a mystery spot.
maybe the room just doesn't exist. Maybe he just was fucking on the beach the whole time and dead and in some kind of weird afterlife. Maybe he was in a coma. Maybe he never met Samuel Adams and had a beer with him in his factory.
You're talking ridiculous now.
So, let's see here. We talked about this. I think the hour counting down on the alarm clock actually takes an hour in movie time. I don't know that for sure.
In real time, I believe it does.
It's a good touch if it does. I like that a lot. Instead of where it's like in a movie where you've got 3 minutes left to disarm this bomb, and then like 50 minutes later they're like, you did it in 3 minutes, look at you go. So then the room starts going a little crazy, the cracks in the wall come, bleeding starts, and let's see here. He tried to walk. Oh yeah, so his big escape plan was going to be to try and walk on the window ledge and go to the other rooms. But when he did that, he got out on the window ledge and obviously had that almost unstable scene like every window ledge scene has. Then as soon as he got closer and closer and closer, all the windows disappeared. Got back inside just barely. I think the window almost closed on him. Or maybe that was a little later. And he gets back in and looks at that hotel thing that's on the door that shows all the different rooms and stuff. And all the rooms on his floor have disappeared except for 1408. So, ties into the room. And Samuel L. Jackson is being in the movie too. When he was Mike has a tape recorder and he tape records everything, and he started to tape record Samuel L. Jackson and was like, so the person who runs this hotel says a phantom, and Samuel L. Jackson's like, I never said a phantom. He said this room itself is evil. So I think that ties more into the whole, this is just a thinning in the veil kind of thing, and it only happens in the room. But so he gets back in, sees that all the rooms have disappeared, and you got anything else to add to that?
Nope.
Okay. So let's see.
I didn't take too many more notes after a certain point in this movie.
Well, shame on you. So, yeah, right. The window slams shut on him and either tried to trap him outside or hurt him. He turns back and looks and sees a brick wall covering where the window was, so he can't get out. And it has written on it, "Burn me alive."
I will say that when he's out on the ledge like that, Stephen King also has another short story called The Ledge.
Really? What's that about?
Which is pretty good from what I remember, and I believe there's a small episode from, I don't remember which one it is, but I'm pretty sure it's an episode on one of his mini-series kind of things that he did.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember it being pretty good.
Well, awesome. So, he looks out the peephole, and there's a brick wall covering the door, too. He's completely trapped in this this room that's going to have its way with him. Then the thermostat starts to drop to very cold temperatures. He video calls his old wife. Somehow it goes through with everything in the room not working, supposedly. He has his laptop. And he tells her, he's like, I'm at 2254 Lexington in room 1408. I don't know if... Well, we're in a cabin in the woods, and there's a whole bunch of noises and animals and stuff now, so that's interesting.
And the weird noise before the dog started barking, so that's kind of weird.
You keep an eye on it, and I'll keep talking, and we will get the salt and firearms accordingly.
I believe that is a vehicle starting up.
Is it a vehicle coming up here?
No, I think it's down on the road down there.
Okay. So, I didn't know if 2254 and 1408 had some kind of thing you could do with them, like plusing, minusing, dividing to make some kind of number again. But I wrote those down just to check into that, and I never really checked into that. So, if anyone wants to comment below and see if they have any kind of theory on that. But, so the wife, the call ends, and the sprinkler starts flooding the room a little bit. He knocks the sprinkler part off to stop it, which I don't think that would actually stop it. I think that would make it worse.
More than likely, yeah.
So then he goes up into that vent where he thought the spy camera was, and he crawls through it to go to the other room. He tries at least, and he looks down and starts seeing like his past with his wife and daughter and stuff. And at this point, it's shown his daughter, little hints that his daughter had cancer, some inoperable disease that was going to kill her, and she died from it. And that he left his wife because of the death, and he couldn't handle it or some shit, and he just like left her without saying anything. Because in one of the video talks, she's like, "You just left without a word. I don't know if we're divorced, separated, what we are." But so he crawls through the vent and sees that little blast from the past, and then she's holding the baby and looks up at him. He backs up, and then looks at the old... there's an old man that comes right beside him that's got fucking... we got these fucking goggle-looking glasses on and starts crawling after him. He fucking kicks this guy in the jaw and takes the jaw off and then takes his whole head apart. He gets back to the room, opens the fridge that's stocked with booze, and instead it's a long passage into Samuel L. Jackson's office, and he's like, "This is what you wanted, yada this, yada that."
I do want to say that during this scene, there's a point to where he felt the need for some reason to take a whiskey bath. Where he takes a drink of whiskey and then just pours it over his head while all that water's coming out.
I think, wasn't it after his daughter's clothes got faxed to the fax machine, like her dress or hospital gown or whatever it was?
Yeah, it's when all the rain and water started coming through.
Right, so he chugs some of that cognac or whiskey or whatever it is and then pours it all over his head and fucking douses himself in it.
For no reason.
How's that going to help you in this situation? How's it going to help you get your composure back? If you think the booze was what was poisoning you.
It won't make you less flammable, spoiler alert.
See, there you go. So, let's see here. He gets another call through the laptop, and at this point he's fucking freezing because the room got flooded and wetted all through, and then the temperature keeps dropping, so now it's just freezing and icy. His wife calls and is like, "Where are you at again? Where are you at?" And she's like, "I'm be here in 15 minutes," and he's like, "Don't come." And then the webcam changes into like an entity of him, which at one point earlier in the movie, I forgot to mention, when he's looking out the window screaming for help, right across directly from him at the building right across, his window open with a guy in it. And he's like, "Hey, I need help. Hey, hey, hey." And the guy looks at him and then starts mimicking every move he makes, like waving, trying to get help. Then he puts the lamp up to his face, and so does the other guy across the street, and it turns out to be him. Nice little touch. But so this little thing pretending to be him is like, "Yes, come here right now. I need you. Yes, I need you to come here as quick as you can." Then she says okay and hangs up, and he gives like this little evil smirk to Mike. And let's see here.
I will say there are a lot of odes to other Stephen King works in this. Like, we forgot to mention one of the people killed in that room is Mr. Grady.
Right.
Which is the, I want to say, bartender in The Shining.
Ooh, yeah, that's I think who we decided that was.
Pretty sure it was Mr. Grady.
So yeah, there's lots of Stephen King is just fucking awesome. Either way you put it,
He's the king.
it's funny.
Pun intended.
That's because and then it was. So good job. But so then the painting, one of the paintings has a ship on it, and the water comes out of it and floods the whole room. Then it transfers him back to the beach, and he wakes up again on the beach, where he was at the beginning of the movie from the bodyboarding incident. And that's why I thought, well, maybe it could have been him actually dying on the beach. It could have been a coma, yada yada. But he wakes up on the beach and then passes back out and wakes up in the hospital. His wife's there. They end up reconciling a little bit. He's out for a little bit, and then he goes to the post office to mail something, and everything starts to go kaplooey again. The room starts to get destroyed. He ends up right back in 1408, melted this time, and he's like, but I was out, blah, 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 blah. So then there's another, like, burn and heat reference in there at some point. I didn't put it specifically in my notes. I can't remember what it was. There's so many different heat and burn references. But then this door pops up that is just a standing door. If you walk behind it, there's nothing behind it except the regular room. But when you open it, it opens up to a whole different world. Reminds me a lot of the Dark Tower doors that the gunslinger goes through and stuff. And if this is tied and something from the Dark Tower, I don't see, that being totally impossible. But so the door disappears, and all of a sudden his daughter appears out of nowhere, the daughter who died. This scene's pretty fucked up. It's a great written scene, and he acts it out so greatly. He kicks the daughter right in the head. No, I'm just kidding. So the daughter comes up, and she's like, I'm so cold. And he's like in shock on the floor, and he's about to cry. And he grabs her and hugs her and holds her, and she's like, they won't let me stay. And he's like, no, they will. I got you. They'll let you stay. And she's like, Daddy, don't you love me? Yada yada. Then his daughter, it's a shot of his daughter's arms wrapped around him, just dropping, and she dies again in his arms. And he's like, you can't take her from me again, not again, not again, not again. And he just goes berserk. He starts destroying the room, throwing things around. I mean, I would choose violence at this point too, but he destroys it, and then he's just in this exhausted, defeated. He's just done. He just falls down and looks under the table where the alarm clock has ended up, and it says 3:36. I don't know if that means 3 minutes 36 seconds left, if that means it was like, or if I saw it, but when it looked like it said 3:36, the song started again. It's only just begun, but this time it was super distorted, and the next time it shows the clock, it's down to 36 seconds. And as it goes down, it starts getting more distorted. Then it gets closer to 0, and it picks back up in speed and becomes more normal. Great touch. It makes you really feel the suspense. And it hits 0. Everything goes back to normal. You think he's going to be out of it. Boom, bitch! The clock goes right back to 60 minutes and starts counting down again. What you think of that?
Very nice.
Very nice. So, the phone rings. He answers it, and it's the same lady, and she basically says, you can leave the hotel, but you can never really leave the hotel.
Yeah, pretty much throughout this whole movie. Especially after he gets injured, he's like, all right, I'm ready to check out. And they're basically asking him this whole movie, like, are you ready to check out yet? You ready to check out now? How about now?
So she's like, you can't leave ever unless you use our express checkout option, which is suicide. That's why everyone else has killed themselves in the room. So a noose appears in front of him, like, hey, kill yourself. So then he grabs the alcohol, looks at the noose, looks in the mirror, and his reflection disappears in the mirror. I don't know what that was supposed to symbolize, if his soul was already gone and stuck in the room now, or...
Well, the reflection showed him hanging himself.
Well, the reflection at first showed him hanging himself, but then he went... Because he went to the bathroom and looked, and there was a noose in the bathroom this time. Then he went and looked in front of the mirror, and it didn't show his reflection, and then it showed him hang himself, or did it show him hang himself, and then his reflection was gone?
I don't remember.
Maybe he was just standing up so high and dropped down. That's what it was. But, so, she's like, are you ready to check out? He picks up the phone again, and he's like, no, not your way. She's like, I understand, Mr. Insland. So, the clock's counting down again, and, basically, he does what I think is a smart move in this. He douses the room with the alcohol, lights it on fire.
After he'd already doused himself in alcohol.
Right, and he burns it to a crisp, and he's laying under the table. his daughter says something. I don't know if she says everyone's supposed to die, everyone dies, or something like that. But he just starts laughing hysterically. This movie has 3 endings, and the ending that we watched and is my favorite, and I think is the canon one.
The best one, which is on the DVD, the theatrical, and the one on Amazon Prime, which is, in my opinion, the best.
For sure. So he's laying there laughing, about to accept his fate, and then the fire department, his wife gets there, and she's down with the whole crowd. The fire erupts, because I think he threw the ashtray at the window and made like a backdraft happen to make the fire really explode out. So his wife's like, my husband's in there, blah, 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 blah. So the firefighters get up there, break down the door, pull him out, and he grabs one of the firefighters and says, don't go in that room, it's evil. And they're like, get him out of here. He ends up in the hospital, recovers. Him and his wife are in an apartment now together, living together again. And he tried to tell his wife in the hospital that his daughter was there. She's like, nah. And he started listening to his tape recorder at the apartment. And it was the stuff it was at the beginning. He walked in and he's like, well, this hotel sucks. There's nothing special about it. Carpet, drapes, this, that. Then it glitches out and it goes to him being like, that can't be you. You're not real. And she's like, Daddy, don't you love me anymore? I'm so cold. And the wife fucking drops her box and looks over at it with a fucking horrified look on her face. And he just gives her this really good look, like, just like,
told you, bitch.
Told you, bitch, but also just like jaded towards it because of all he went through. Just like, yeah, what'd I tell you? So that's the end of the first bit. That's the end of the first, ending. And that's what it was alluding to the whole movie. Heat, burn it down, burn me alive. I think the room was telling him to burn it. So he burns it. Before all that, I forgot. The reason I think Samuel L. Jackson is part of it is he's sitting in his office chair still and stuff. He's got a cigar and a glass of that cognac. And he's like, well done, Mr. Insland. Well done. Or well played. He said, well played. So the fact that he burnt down the room, everyone else evacuated in the hotel except for Samuel. I don't know if it was at the exact same time or not. It made it seem like it was. And he was like, well played, well played. That made me feel like he was in on it a little bit. I don't know. But then in the second ending...
I feel like he at least knew.
Right. In the second ending, it has Mike actually die. I hate this ending. There's a funeral for him. His wife's there, along with the book publisher guy. Samuel L. Jackson comes up after the funeral and is like, hey, we got a box of your husband's stuff. His tape recorder's in it. And the wife's like, no, I don't want to remember him for that crazy fucker he turned into. I don't want that. And Samuel L. Jackson's like, but he did a good thing. He saved a lot of people. And the guy, the author, he's like, the publisher, he's like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. So Samuel L. Jackson goes to his car, turns the tape recorder on, starts listening to it, and hears all that same stuff. Looks in his mirror, sees Mike in the back seat with a burnt to a crisp face, and he's like, ah. Then he disappears, drives on, whatever. Then he goes back to room 1408, goes back to the hotel. The window's blown out, obviously. The room's burnt to a crisp, and it pans into the room, and you see Mike Insland's ghost. I've probably mispronounced his last name 50,000 times in this. But you see him smoking a cigarette, looking out in that ghost staticky bit of stuff.
It don't look as bad.
Design doesn't look. It never looked bad.
Oh, you almost said it there because
No,
it does.
no, you caught me off guard. But then you hear his daughter's voice saying, "It's time to go, Daddy. Come on." And he's like, "Right, yes, of course." And he takes one last drag and walks through the door. And you hear an open and closed door sound, but he doesn't actually open the door. He just walks through it. And that's the second end. And then the third end, you said, was just more on the tape when Samuel was listening to it, right?
Yeah. Well, you hear the funeral music, you don't actually see it.
Right.
It goes to his wife's room or whatever, and her door slams like he's there. And
that's right. So basically, there was one good ending to this movie. And you said the book ended with him just in the hospital, and that's how it ended, right?
As far as I remember, yeah, him being in the hospital with his wife.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the conclusion of our review to 1408. Now let's give the ratings. I know you're excited for this. What do you want me to go first? Or you want to go first?
Go ahead and go first.
I give this movie. I did not. There's not a single thing I disliked about this movie except for the alternate endings. That's not even canon, and not getting to know more about the room, like thrown right at my face, like saying, "Hey, this is a veil, a little slip in time." Blah blah blah. I give the movie a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. I literally was going to give this movie a 4.5 out of 5 stars just because I was like, it feels weird to give it a... What?
You just said like a 4.55 out of 10.
No. I was gonna give. Okay, I'm still a little buzzed and drunk if I said that. 4.5 out of 5 stars, but I give it a 5 out of 5 stars, 10 out of 10 rating. I was gonna.
You gave this a 10 out of 10.
Yes, I did. I was gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, because I was like, it just feels weird to give a movie a perfect score. And then I thought to myself, why am I not giving it a perfect score? Because it would be weird. But did I think it was perfect? Yeah. Well, then I'm going to give it a perfect score. So, this to me is the perfect suspense horror movie. I could not recommend it more. John Cusack, Samuel Adams, you guys knocked it out of the park. I said Samuel Adams, so ironically, Samuel L. Jackson. Oh my god. Okay. I'm sorry. Please don't ever see this, Samuel. If you do, please, I'm sorry. I'll buy you a Sam Adams. So, go on with your rating before I desecrate my good name.
Okay, so for me, a 5 and up out of 10 is I would watch it again without a question. And for me to recommend a movie, it would have to be a 6 or up. And for me, this movie was a 6 out of 10.
What?
Which means I would recommend it to people watching it. Solely based because it's a Stephen King and it's good.
So you just think it's alright, it's good, it's alright, yeah?
Well, yeah, I think there's many a movie that are way better.
Man, that blows me away. It's just such a good movie. You guys watch it, let me know in the comments and him know what you guys think about it. But yeah, I think we've said our piece on it, and we're going to go fist fight now and about that rating disagreement.
And for next week,
ooh, yeah,
I'm pretty excited about because one of them I haven't seen out of the duology. Well, I don't know if you want to call it a duology because it's a remake, but
okay.
It'll be out after Valentine's Day, but it's a holiday episode, and we're going to do the 1981 version of My Bloody Valentine and the remake with the great Jensen Ackles of Supernatural.
Oh, he's in it? Sick. I've never seen either of them, so I got a lot of movie watching to get
so
done.
Neither one of us has seen the original.
And since we're hanging out a little earlier than usual, I got to watch them very quickly. So, do you want to mention a movie of the week that you watched before we go?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I watched the pretty decent movie, haunted house flick, called We Are Still Here.
Sounds interesting.
It's pretty good. What about you?
I watched Freaky. It's just Freaky, right?
Yeah.
It's Vince Vaughn. I won't spoil anything about it, but he's a serial killer, and it's a great movie, and we're definitely going to be doing an episode on it. But
it's basically Freaky Friday, but one of them's a serial killer. Swap bodies.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Well, this was our first pretty much hour-long podcast, so I'm pretty proud of that one. I figured this was going to be a longer one.
Next week will probably be a little bit longer.
This movie was I love it. And yeah, it's if we're watching a remake of it, it's
watching two movies. Yeah.
Right.
Wait till our franchise shows.
So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and sign off here. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. Like I said, let us know below what you think of 1408. Don't ever tell Samuel L. Jackson that I called him Samuel Adams 50,000 times and once accidentally. And with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. So stay spooky, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.